Hey everybody, Karl here with Pave Chaser in the Pave Chaser garage, and welcome to yet another video working on our 2021 KTM Duke 890. And I've done a couple videos already in this series. I've done the side cases by the KTM Powerparts. I did the SW Motec tank bag, which is super sweet. Check out that video. As well as I did the windscreen. Today, I'm going to be doing a video on a component that might not be considered a necessity, but when you start driving long periods and the temperatures get cold, it's always nice to have something to warm your hands. And here I've got the KTM heated hand grips. Now, before you call me a wuss and say, you know, you don't need those, I've done a couple trips where it was snowing out, and when your hands get really cold and you still got 600-700 kilometers to go, it kind of sucks the fun out of your trip. So I went ahead and I embellished, and I've picked up these grips. These are right from KTM. They integrate directly into the KTM dash, so you can actually control these right from there. You don't need to have any add-on switches or on-off switches, things like that. It's all built right in, so it's super cool. This comes with basically your two grips, which are already there, so you don't have to end up trying to peel off the grips. As well as it's going to come with a module. We're going to have to pull some stuff off to get at it, and that's what we're going to do today. I have brought in some help for this video. I've got Jessie here, who's a little bit more technically inclined than I am, and we're gonna get into some of the guts of this bike. Cowboy Labs is what his handle is on Instagram, does some cool photos there. He's got an MT-09, and we're probably gonna see some of his bike in some of our videos, and vice versa, because we do a lot of riding together. And so yeah, definitely check that out. So without any further ado, we're gonna jump into how to install these things. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off this windscreen because it's gonna be in the way. So we have the windscreen off now, and I'm going to be going through these instructions. There's about 8 or 9 pages, all pictures, so if you download those right from the KTM site, it's pretty self-explanatory. First thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the headlight, which requires basically a single bolt, and it's a Torx 25. So we're going to pull that off right now. Swivel forward, that's it. Perfect. So all we had to do was take that one bolt out, and that allows this to swivel forward, which is going to give us access, hopefully, to this speedo module. We're going to have to remove this bezel here to get in to get to the wiring harness. Your headlight is only going to pull forward so far, but if you pull this little connector out from here, it's going to fold all the way down. It's going to make getting access to this Torx a little bit easier, and this is a Torx 30, so we're going to loosen this off, and we pulled out the screw from here, and now we're going to pull out the screw from here, and then one down here, and then one down here, so we can remove this whole plastic shroud. The two bottom screws are actually a Torx 20, so we've got a 20, a 25, and a 30 so far used just on this front headlight. Okay, so what we had to do is we had to actually take the mounting brackets for the windscreen that I had just installed off, because there are 2 screws coming from either side that we need access to in order to be able to pull this plastic shrouding off from the back of the instrument cluster. We have removed the bolt here that was holding the bracket, then we just removed the other one from there. Now that's going to allow us to get access to a screw right up in behind there. When you're taking this piece off here on the 890, you want to be very careful that you don't lose a little piece that came out from here, and we'll show you close up what that looks like. This little piece right here goes inside that groove there, and that's basically a receiver for the screw that we had taken out from here and from your headlight itself. So just make sure you don't lose that little piece. It becomes loose. Then we can pull that piece right out. We should mention that the instructions that came with this kit are for the 1290R, the Duke 1290R. So if we look like we're kind of guessing at some of the stuff, it's because we are, because it's not quite the same. A few minor differences. Yeah. Here's the instrument cluster. Here's the back, the 3 screws we removed. This is probably worth a lot, so we're going to keep this in a safe area. And now that we've got all our wires exposed in there, we're going to jump to removing the actual hand grips, because these hand grips need to have these wires run, and these are the plugs right here that are going to need to be wound up into the front of this area. I should also mention that when you're taking your hand grips off here, You're gonna have some weights inside there. I don't have those because I got rid of my stock antlers or mirrors, and I added these bar end mirrors. So it might look a little bit different for your bike, but again, same idea, just pull those ends off. So KTM actually has these really nice rubber tie straps that you can actually take off here and reuse them again, which is really a good idea. So we'll just put those aside. And in order to get these grips off here, we're going to need to have a little bit of play. So we're going to loosen up some of these tie straps in there.
And it honestly doesn't matter how many you cut, as long as you replace it with an equivalent number and that everything's tight.
That's right. So we want to make sure that we take careful note of what we're cutting. And one distinction to make note of as we figure this out, that the throttle side is the one that's got the 2 connectors, and the other side only has 1 connectors. And if you pull this little rubber thing off here, you're going to see there's a screw right there that you can loosen, and we can do that on this side. This is on the throttle side. We're going to go ahead and remove the 2 screws from there, and we're going to start with the throttle side first.
So then the cover, which is actually steel.
All right, this slides. The throttle grip has a wire here, whereas the one you're taking off doesn't, because of course it's not heated, right?
It automatically finds its spot.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. There's a little notch in the bottom of this shroud that when you slide the handle grip on, it's going to snap in place. And there's a little tiny notch for that white wire to set right within. And then there's that piece of the wire's got a sheath on it, and you just kind of tuck that in that notch. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take this piece that we removed, and it's got a notch on the top of it. So that way you can see here that the wire is all shielded, and we can go ahead and put those 2 bolts back in. It kind of feels nice to be assembling something again, as opposed to disassembling it with bolts and screws laying all over the place. Now, when I inquired at the dealer on how much it would cost to install these, they said it was going to be about an hour to an hour and a half install time from their techs. So it isn't a 15-minute job, especially if it's your first time doing this and you're kind of discovering as you go. You might want to block off a couple hours for this. Normally you wouldn't tighten these all the way in case we got to loosen it to move it around, but just in case we forget, we're going to torque them up just enough to, if we have to loosen them up a little bit afterwards, again, it's not the end of the world. So that wire will just keep jamming it in there and try to push it this way, because I can feel it right here. We're going to take off the piece that the signal lights are mounted to, or at least loosen them, which is going to make it easier for us to run this.
Well, it'll gain us room between the
between
shock mount and the
triple tree or whatever. It almost fits. We loosened this piece by taking out the 2 bolts that were in here. This way we could run these cables right through that notch between the triple tree and this signal light shroud. And so now that they are in here, we're going to go ahead and move to the other side to get it inside here. Now to do that, there's a small little screw. You can see he's taking this out, and I'll kind of show you on the replacement piece here that if you take this shroud, you pull that back, there's a little Torx in there, and you can loosen that, and that's going to come off.
Old grip off.
So the old grip is off with the old, on with the new.
We might need to loosen it to get it on.
Okay.
They probably tighten it a bit from factory so that it doesn't fall off in shipping.
Thinks of everything. So we're going to send the wire for this handle grip right underneath this compartment here.
Now just grab onto it like you would be driving.
Yeah.
It's not in any of your way for these controls here.
No. So that's so we're going to run it right. We're going to run that wire straight under there, and then we can tie strap it right to this bundle cable here. So now that we've tightened this up here, we're going to run it through right down into that wiring harness through here.
Grab it from the bottom.
And we're gonna grab it from in here. A little bit more. There we go. We'll pull that out. So now once you're in this wiring area, we'll turn this a little bit further this way so we can kind of see from the big screen as well.
All right, so one of the wires has this little plastic cover on it.
Yeah, so we're gonna remove the little plastic cover off one of these white connectors because we've got the throttle grip has got 2 connectors on it and the other side only has 1. So we're gonna plug.
One of them goes into the power and ground.
Yeah, into there.
And then the other 2 connect together.
So we're connecting the 2 grips into one here, and then this one goes into your power and ground. So that's connected there. So now that we've reconnected the white connectors here for the grips, we're going to reattach the instrument cluster, and we're going to then jump to this HCU unit. And we're gonna plug everything all in, and we're gonna test it to make sure that the grips are working before we strap everything in and put everything back together again. You don't want to end up doing all that work and finding out that something's not working right. So we can just temporarily screw that in lightly.
Same big connector, you can't confuse it.
Yeah, there's only one large connector that's going to fit in there. So when you're looking at your HCU unit, there is actually a 6-pin connector in here if you pull this little rubber cover off, and it looks like it's going to fit in this wire right here, which is plugging into your headlights. It doesn't do that. This is actually going to plug in under the seat in the back, the passenger pillion.
Plug the headlight.
Yeah. So we'll replug the headlight there.
Everything is plugged in again, same as it was from factory.
Yeah. So now we're going to take off the passenger seat, and inside here we have a connector right there. We're going to take this connector, leave the plastic or the rubber cover on this side, and go ahead and you can connect that. We're going to take that cover off.
Cover.
And plug that in there. If you don't have the HCU or the heating controller unit plugged in, you're going to get an error when you try to activate your heated grips in the system here. So now we're going to test them to make sure everything works.
Now you start getting heat.
Now we're getting heat. So they are warming up, which is a good sign. I'll show you the controls in a minute. We're going to reassemble everything, and then I'll give you kind of the overview of how it works from the control section. So now what we're going to do is we've got all this all plugged in properly. We're going to re-tie strap everything in nice and neat so that we can close this up, put all the coverings back on, and be good to go. Now that we've got all our wires running there, we've tied everything up here. These are all the connectors from the heated grips. You basically just want to tie everything up so that it fits in there nice and snug, and then so we can actually close this in behind. So then we can put the shroud in, or the plastic bird's nest covering. And this is going to snap into the top piece with those little clips up here. We've added a number of wires, so this might be a little bit of a trial and error to get this to fit. So we managed to get all the wires all nice and tightly wrapped back into here. We got this rubber plastic shroud on top of it. Make sure you leave your headlight plug sticking up that little hole, and now we just plug that in here. Okay, we have the shroud on there. We have the headlight put back in. Signal lights are here. I've reinstalled my windscreen, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that on. So that, folks, is the installation process of your heated grips. And you're gonna have 2 caps for wires that are one for the module that goes in the passengers underneath the passenger seat, one for the heated grips connector in there. Just put those in a safe place in case you ever wanna take these off. And I'll give you a quick demo of how it works on the computer, because it's really cool. We're gonna turn that on. Over here on your settings, you hit set. We're gonna go to trips and data first. You're gonna go all the way to settings. Then you're going to go all the way down to heated grips. And it might be set to not available. You wanna make sure that you trigger that to available. Now that that's on available, you can back out of here and go right down to motorcycle. And at the very top, you've got heated grips. And this is where you're gonna be able to select off, high, medium, and low settings. And once you turn that on, these get nice and toasty warm. Well, that's it for the video tonight, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be posting more videos as I turn this bike into a touring machine. We're gonna be doing some serious miles on that in the upcoming months, and even next summer, we got a major trip planned, and we're gonna film it. And so until next time, have a good night.